One of the most common questions we get asked here at Hinders is about pop-up making. Now there are so many different things you can do, so in this short video clip I'm going to show you how I go about making pop-ups, and along the way there'll be a couple of little hints and tips to make it easier. Right, the first thing to do with pop-ups is, obviously you don't need loads, so we're going to make some floral ones today, so literally all you need is one fresh medium-sized egg. Crack that into the bowl. Now, one of the most common mistakes people make when doing this is literally all the liquid and powdered additives need to go into the egg and give it a really good whisk first. So in this instance we're going to be using the BETALIN in black, which has already got the flavour in it as well. So as a general guide, you can make any flavour you want. If it's going to be fruit based, literally all you need to do is add 1 ml of our original BETALIN, or the mainline active aid sweetener, and then to that add 2 ml of your chosen flavour, and that will give you a nice strong smelling pop-up. So on this occasion, for a 1 egg mix, all we're going to do is to literally add 3 ml of the BETALIN in black, add that to the egg, and then this particular batch is going to be made white, so we'll add some white dye. Now white is the heaviest of all the dyes. The other dyes are naturally sort of quite buoyant, so they will have. With white you need to go a little bit careful as to how much you put in, because it can dramatically affect the quantity. So we need, for a 1 egg mix, around 3 grams of dye. So I'll just turn my scales on. The 3 grams. White dye does tend to sort of clog up a little bit, so you just want any lumps in it, just press them out before you put it into the powder, or it will clog up even worse. Then add that to your mix, and literally give a really thorough whisk with a fork. Thoroughly mixing all the ingredients, the dye and your flavours. Make sure the eggs are really well whisked up, so you're left with something along the lines of that. And then the next thing is to add the mainline Polaris pop-up mix. Now there are many different varieties of pop-up mix on the market. Here at Hinders we tend to all use the mainline because we found it to be the best on terms of buoyancy for chod rigs and hinge stiff rigs, and also with regards to the longevity of how well they stay buoyant for. Some of them are very buoyant to start with, and then literally within 12 hours they start to sag. These will stay up for 24 hours, no problems at all. So literally with this, all you need to do is just add a little at a time. Now this is where a lot of the problems kind of rise. People put in too much, or they put in not enough and it's too sticky. So it's literally just a case of adding a little at a time. Just keep gently adding, don't go too crazy, because like I say, you'll just get it too dry. Adding. Eventually you'll get to the stage where it is now, where it's trying to clump out around the fork, and that's the stage where you then need to take over and do it by hand. So once once it gets to like that, literally just take it out in your hands, give it a good thorough mix in. The consistency you want, I mean, pop-up mixes generally are quite soft by nature compared to a normal boilie mix. So give it a good go. You want it to be reasonably stiff and just slightly sticking to your hands. That actually does need a little bit more, so you can just put a little bit in the bottom of your pot. And then just dunk it in as though you would if you were making pastry. And then literally just fold it in, knead it in your hands. A little bit more. The more you do it, the quicker you'll become at it, and you'll have a rough idea of how much you need to put in to start with. So obviously that all comes with experience of making pop-ups. Yeah, just about there now. As you can see, it's just lightly sticking on my hands. I mean, advisable if you're using bright dyes to wear some latex gloves. Don't have to. It does just make it a bit easier to keep your hands clean, and that now is pretty much how it should be. Give it a real thorough. Once it's done, just get it into like a nice round ball. Now, one of the common problems is people will now think that's ready to go, and you can do that, but the best thing what I've found is if you get a bag to stick it in, just squeeze the worst of the air out, twist the top up, and just leave it like that for literally an hour. What that does, that lets in particular the white dye, which is quite slow to actually come vibrant in the base mix, in the pop-up mix, it'll let that come out and make them even whiter. And lets all the flavours and stuff absorb, and that mix will then just stiffen up slightly, and literally in around an hour be ready to roll, which we will show you in due course. Right, on to the next stage now with the pop-ups. Like I say, we've left it in the bag for an hour just to let the dye and everything come out into the bake properly and all the additives to soak in. So once that's done, you just take it out. In this instance, it's a Gardner Deluxe sausage gun. There are various types on the market. There's some cheaper Gardner ones and there are some super deluxe expensive air guns if you want to go down that road. Put it into a rough sausage shape, put the paste into the gun, screw the nozzle on. Now a couple of little tips here. All the different mixes, whether it be a pop-up mix or a normal boilie mix, the consistencies do widely vary. So theoretically, you would think that a 14mm table that we're rolling on at the moment, 14mm nozzle, not necessarily so. I always recommend to our customers that if you go down to like the next size down, which in the case of the Gardner gun would be 12mm, extrude it, see how it expands, roll it on the table. If it's not quite round or it's not quite there, then just take a little piece off of a sharp Stanley knife, just literally fractions of a mil at a time until you get it an absolute perfect fit, because obviously you want the base to be nice and round and properly compressed. So this one I've already done, got it exactly spot on. So we'll extrude it out and show you how it goes. So onto a little Gardner long base table. Just gently squeeze it across. Just chop it off on the edge of the table. Just make sure it's more or less straight, like so. Put the top on. Firm press down, and that will just cut it into the little segments. And then if you just roll the top of the table up and down 4 or 5 times, you get some nice round bakes out. And then all I do with that, I'll just pop them into a colander, which will then go into me water that's just gently coming to the simmer at the moment. That's about probably 30 bakes in there, so that'll do. Another quick tip, because it's such a very soft textured consistency the pop-up mix is, if you put it on boiling, it can misshape them before they start to boil away. So what I recommend doing is if you bring it to the boil first, which I have, just turn it down to a very gentle simmer, okay, and then just plonk them in. When you first put them in, just put them in for a few seconds and then just give them a quick roll around, because sometimes they do stick slightly. And then as a rough guide, these are 14mm, so you want roughly 3 minutes for the 14mm, About 3.5 minutes for 16mm and about 2.5 minutes for 12mm. So we'll literally just give that a little boil, or gentle simmer I should say. Doesn't hurt just to give them a little stir around with a knife or a spoon, because obviously because they are round they will naturally, you know, some will be out of the water, some will be in, so just give them a little stir around as you go. Right, they're just about done now, so turn the gas off. That's the 3 minutes or so for the 14mm. Then literally all you need to do once that's done, just bring them out, tip them onto either some kitchen towel or some a tea towel or something like that, anything that basically hasn't got the type of fibre that will stick to the bait. You just want to leave them on there for around an hour or so, just to sort of dry off. They will shrink back down slightly in size, and then after that all I recommend is, again, get some more kitchen towel, just lay them out somewhere in the room away from, you know, strong smells and stuff. 3 or 4 days at normal room temperature of around 20 degrees will dry them nicely, firm them up. It will air dry them sufficiently that they won't go off, and then obviously during the air drying process you will lose a little bit of the smell and the flavour. So all I like to do then is at the same ratio as before. If it's any of our BETALIN, the flavoured ones or the original that you want to flavour it with, then literally just put about 3ml in a pot. 1 egg will make roughly 2 pots depending on the size baits you're making. So just put about 3ml in each pot, give it a good shake up. That'll boost them up and preserve them indefinitely. And then also what you can do if you want to boost them up, if you've used the flavour, the same ratio as before, 1ml of BETALIN or 1ml of the mainline sweet aid and 2ml of whatever your chosen flavour is. Give it a good shake up first, just glug them in that and give them a stir around every few days. And it's as simple as that. It really isn't difficult at all to do. Once you've done it once, it'll be so easy, you'll just wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Right, the pop-ups have been air drying at normal room temperature now, which is around a 20-degree mark for 4 days. The reason for doing that is, 1, to take the moisture out so they don't go off because there's no preservative in them, but 2, it will also dramatically increase the buoyancy. So literally all that's left to do now, once they are dry, is to add your chosen flavour to them, just to give them a boost up. So literally all I do is a general guide. 3ml per pot is plenty. That 1 egg mix that we've made has made 2 pots with around 14ml baits per pot, so 90 baits in total. Add 3ml of flavour. You can add your own, which will be literally 1ml of BETALIN or 1ml mainline sweet aid and 2ml of your chosen flavour. Give it a good shake up and then glug them up in it. In this case it's going to be the BETALIN in black, so literally just syringe in 3ml per pot. Put the lids on obviously and give them a really good shake round to coat the baits. Just do that 2 or 3 times over a period of a couple of days. Make sure they're all coated. That will suck that in within sort of 24 to 48 hours and they'll be absolutely smelling lovely. And that is literally all there is to do. Ultra buoyant pop-ups. We will add a few recipes at the end of this clip for anyone that doesn't know what they quite want to do. You know, some well-used chosen recipes that the lads in the shop use and we also sell. And that's literally all there is to it. It's easy as that.